Thank you, Dave. Welcome to beautiful BC. TSN, the exclusive broadcaster of the Canadian Football League and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. Well, tonight, a huge West test as Calgary and BC bring 4-3 records under the dome. The winner gets a share of second in the West with Edmonton, and the loser falls to 500. And into the Western cellar, John Hufnagel Stamps went into the bye after handing Saskatchewan its first loss and snapping a two-game losing skid for Calgary, while Wally Buono's Lions have won 4 of 5, and he's anxious to avenge a 28-18 loss in week 1, a game he did not like in the least.
Both teams coming off wins. The BC Lions 2 weeks ago against the Edmonton Eskimos here at BC Place. Of course, Calgary gave Saskatchewan their first loss of the season 2 weeks ago.
This has the makings of a beauty. Paul McCallum has it on the tee. Joffrey Reynolds and Marcus Howell have dropped deep. Calgary trying to win its first in 8 visits to Vancouver. And it will be Reynolds crossing the 30 and met there. Surging forward to the 34, but Ricky Foley was downfield quickly, and Henry Burris, who had a 5 consecutive games of 300 yards passing snapped against Saskatchewan, leads the offense out.
Completing over 68% of his passes. Behind him in the backfield is Joffrey Reynolds at 5.8 yards per carry. The tailback spot, 101 carries coming into this game tonight. There's a receiving core, a talented group that gets Reggie Williams, a newcomer, in at slot back, an offensive line with Ben Archibald starting at left tackle for the 3rd straight game.
Tonight's starting lineup brought to you by Holiday Inn Hotels. Look again at Holiday Inn. First play of the game, Burris will send it out, and there's a completion for the former BC Lion, Ryan Thelwell. Last year, just 5 catches in 2 meetings against his old team, but he opens with a 30-yard catch here.
And that's where the read takes you when you're Henry Burris in the first play of the game. The Lions roll away from the wide side of the field and just leave Ryan Thelwell way outside all by himself on the sideline, and a nice positive play for Henry Burris to get this game underway.
7 receivers dressed for the Calgary Stampeders. Plenty of weapons for Henry Burris, and a first down at the Lion 45-yard line. Cluster to the right side. First carry for Joffrey Reynolds is huge. An enormous hole, and Reynolds is going to score. Touchdown, Joffrey Reynolds, 46 yards. And in 2 plays, the Stamps find the end zone.
Talk about early success for the Calgary Stampeders. A nice read and throw to get this drive started, and Joffrey Reynolds explodes through the hole to get Calgary on the board that quickly. Looked like Tyrone Williams in the middle of that defense was still trying to get the call as Henry Burris was going to get it. He doesn't even really get set. And you can see the explosion from Joffrey Reynolds.
His longest run of the year, his 7th touchdown of the season. And DeAngelis adds the extra point. The Stampeders did not have a play go for over 20 yards in their win against Saskatchewan 2 weeks ago. They've just ran off 2 consecutive big plays, 30 and 46.
Yeah, you can tell, Chris, they have the great jump in their step. I mean, what a start to this football game. Coming off of the bye, both these teams. Look at Tyrone Williams in the middle of your screen trying to get the signal here. And that's exactly where Joffrey Reynolds ends up running. He cuts right back where Tyrone Williams usually lines up. He didn't have the play. He had his head turned. He wasn't in his stance, not ready and not prepared. Reynolds made him pay for that hesitation as he explodes through the hole. Little bunch formation to the right of the line of scrimmage there for Henry Burris with the 3 receivers. Baron Miles cannot catch Joffrey Reynolds in time.
Animal!
Well, that's as explosive a start as we've seen this year. Edmonton scored an opening series touchdown last week here, but not quite that efficiently. So we'll find out how the Lions will respond.
You can tell there's a jump in the step for the Calgary Stampeders.
A minute 12 in. And they have a touchdown lead. Here's Ian Smart, who's changed momentum more than once this year. And Smart hit as he crossed the 30-yard line. And Jarius Jackson finds himself in an early hole as he leads the Lions offense out.
Yeah, you're down 7-0 before you even see the football. In Jarius Jackson's case, 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions for Jackson on the season. Pulled last game versus the Edmonton Eskimos. Stefan Logan in the backfield once again. Joe Smith did not dress for this one. There's the receiving core with Geroy Simon back. That's a huge plus for the Lions, and the offensive line, Dean Valley in at guard.
Lions start at their own 32. Fake to Stefan Logan, and here's something we didn't see much of last week. Jarius Jackson, who is a strong runner, 2 carries, 3 yards in his last game against Edmonton, and he rips off 14 in the opening play for BC.
Defense for the Calgary Stampeders gets Labinjo back at defensive end, and Marcus Parker will play on the inside of that defensive line. The linebacking core is led by Juwan Armour, the run stopper in the middle. And in the secondary, there's the entire secondary. Brandon Browner loves to get up and play that bump and run coverage. We'll watch that tonight.
First down again, play action fake to Logan. Outside it goes, and back in the lineup is Rufus Skillern, and Skillern with the catch near midfield, wrestled out by Dwight Anderson. 8 for Skillern.
Just works on the outside of that formation. You know, the BC Lions, very important game for them. I know it's still early in the season, but after losing week 1 to the Calgary Stampeders, all the players and coaches before the game talking about the importance of this one, not losing the season series.
That's why it was a significant win for Edmonton last night, knotting that 3-game set, because it's so tightly bunched in the West that it will probably come down to tiebreakers somewhere down the line. 2nd and 2, and the jumbo team is in. Lambala crashing across it. The Calgary High School product, showing you why Wally Buono thinks he has the answer to the absence of Joe Smith.
Well, he has Stefan Logan to be the feature tailback, and he's a scat back, a quick guy who'll bounce around, and when they need that 1 yard, that 1 or 2 important yards like they do in this short yardage, they will go with Raleigh Lambala, and look at the power that he shows.
Yeah, they needed 2, and he got them 8. As a fullback who will get more and more responsibility in the Lions offense with Stefan Logan. First down into Calgary territory. Pressure. Jackson steps up and again takes off. And brought down by the former Lion, Juwan Armour.
The running there from Jarius Jackson. He gets Geroy Simon back in the lineup. Important to get him back. Geroy Simon missed 2 games. The BC Lions won 1 of those, lost the other to Edmonton, but Jarius Jackson has tried to establish himself as a runner early in this game to try and keep that Calgary defense guessing a little bit.
9 more for Jarius Jackson. 203 yards rushing coming into this game, but again, seemed to forget about the run game in the last start against the Eskimos. Lambala checks back in. Graduate of St. Francis High School in Calgary. He's got it again. Straight up the middle this time. The yards a little harder to come by.
You know, and getting Geroy Simon back in the lineup, Chris, is so important for this BC Lion team when you consider the big play capability of Geroy Simon. You look at his average per catch at 21. That's the big play. That's that big deep bomb that Jarius Jackson throws so well, and Geroy Simon makes that play so much. It also opens up and gives more room for the rest of the receiving core, because when he's out there, he gets double teamed. When he wasn't there, guys like Paris Jackson started to get double teamed, and it was a little more difficult for Paris Jackson to get open, and he realized a little bit of what Geroy Simon has gone through.
Boy, did they miss him last start. The Lions in the first half had 112 net yards. It's 3rd down and inches. And this time Lumbala will set up as a tight end. And referee Andre Prue is stopping play momentarily.
You get this close, when you're inside of that yard, it's quarterback sneak all the way.
That's what it is. Off the left side, behind left guard Kelly Bates for the first down.
You know, one of the reasons for that is it simplifies it. There's one less exchange with the football. The only exchange is center to quarterback, not center to quarterback, then quarterback to running back. Plus, you don't give up any yards.
Seventh play of the drive upcoming. Lumbala to the bench, and Clarence Coleman has brought in a play from the sidelines for Jarius Jackson. Just 150 yards in the last start. Got the hook in the third quarter, but Wally Buono very quickly following the game made him the starter for this one. Here's Logan. Great Stefan Logan run through a tackle, and 9 more as the Lions establish something on the ground.
7.2 yard average for Stefan Logan coming into this game. He's tough to find, first of all, for opposing defenses. He's so small and can hide in behind those offensive linemen, and then when you give him a little crack, he has that explosion to just break through it and make you miss in the open field. And in fact, he doesn't even have to be in the open field to make you miss, because he doesn't need that much room.
Again, second and short, and Jackson will sneak close to a first down. Against Edmonton, Wally Buono's team averaged 7.9 yards on first down. And they have been very impressive so far tonight in that category.
Yeah, when you can bring your short yardage team in on second down, you're having success on first, and it can open it up to try and surprise the defense with, when you're in short yardage, to go ahead and try and throw the ball at times.
So 2 big plays for Calgary to score. A methodical drive as the Lions try to answer back. 6 receivers out. And again, Jackson has to step up. Spinning away and finally dropped down at the 17-yard line.
You can tell that this is premeditated, and I'm sure the coaching staff talked to Jarius Jackson about getting his legs running and getting going that way for Jarius Jackson, who lines up right there in the shotgun. He takes a quick look, and this is as quick as I've seen him all season long, to get back there like he looks like he wants to throw the football, and he takes off immediately. That's as quick as he makes those decisions all year.
Mike Labinjo shaken up. We'll take a break. What a spin by Jackson as he avoided the tackle by Jawan Armour. Wendy's CFL on TSN. Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the Canadian Football League. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. And by Rona, proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. On to the 10th play of the drive. Jawan Simpson in for the injured Mike Labinjo. Wally Lumbala again. And at the 15, he'll have another BC first down.
You mentioned that Jarius Jackson in that last game versus the Edmonton Eskimos was pulled after throwing for about 150 yards. He had 3 touchdowns and actually the lead, but it was right in this area of the field where he made the mental mistake through an interception, and that was the reason that Wally Buono decided to pull him out of there. I know this is obviously way too early in the football game. He's got a good drive going. It's first down, but this is the area of the field where Wally Buono does not want any mistakes from Jarius Jackson mentally.
The message was to just do what the play dictates, manage the game, and he has certainly done that. And they've done it on the ground. This is probably the most sustained rushing drive of the season for the BC Lions. 9 rushing plays and 1 passing play, and most of the running has been done by the quarterback. Now 5 receivers, and Logan out of the backfield 2. 1st and 10. And gunned down inside the 5. G. Roy Simons back in the offense. And another first down, 1st and goal, BC.
Jason Claremont ran the under route, and Geroy Simon is the over route. And Simon is right here. Simon's going to come across the field, and he's the over. And on the opposite side of the field, just to the right of your screen, is Claremont, who comes underneath. And it's 2 layers. There's Claremont underneath. There's Geroy Simon over. And because Jarius Jackson has so much time to throw the football, he can wait till Simon clears the line and gets all the way to the opposite side of the formation.
In week 1, the BC Lions amassed only 12 first downs in the entire game against Calgary. They have 6 on their opening drive tonight, and they're set up 1st and goal at the Calgary 3-yard line. Big boys are in. Lyle Green, Logan in the backfield, toss, left side. Green the block, flag down, and Logan just back to the line of scrimmage and maybe a half-yard.
Pretty good speed from the Calgary defense to get outside. I mean, that's a play that really plays to the strengths of Stephen Logan, to give him that toss and let him use his speed. He wanted to try and get the corner, but the Calgary Stampeders cut him off. We'll see what this penalty is.
Off and down there. Defensive line doesn't give a yard.
Offside. Calgary number 39. After distance to goal. First down.
Charleston Hughes, defensive end. And now it's 1st and goal from about 1.5 yards out. Hughes out of a small school, Northwood, which happened to produce a former BC Lion defensive end, Chris Wilson. So now they hunker down, 1st and goal, and Lumbala stopped, snuffed at the 1-yard line. Parker at the bottom of the pile, and Matt Grudegood also in on the tackle.
Yeah, I think it was Grudegood that went low, Chris, and he's the guy who really submarines this run on Lumbala and does not let him get his legs going. Watch how number 6 kind of comes around the corner and gets nice and low there, along with Marcus Parker, and together they hold him out.
You better get low. And
yeah,
Rolly Lumbala at 2:45 is churning. 14th play of the drive. 2nd and goal from 1 yard out. Lumbala taken outside. He'll walk in. Touchdown. The Calgary kid has one for the BC Lions against the Stamps.
I like how casual he was. He saw the Calgary Stampeders all commit to the middle of that line and right into the trench. They all dug in there, and he just casually broke to the outside. He could see Brandon Browner was the outside guy, and as soon as he jumped in, Lyle Green pinned the corner, and Lumbala just basically walked in.
Would you call that casual or nimble? Because Wally Buono says he's a more nimble Dwayne Ford.
Yeah. And Dwayne Ford was nimble.
He was nimble. He's nimbly on the sidelines right now. Extra point added by McCallum. Wow. 2 opening possession touchdowns. The CFL on TSN is brought to you in part by the 2008 GMC Sierra. Professional grade. And we have ourselves a high-grade football game. 2 very impressive touchdown drives that couldn't have been more different.
Well, for the BC Lions, Chris, it was Jarius Jackson's ability to run the football and obviously premeditated. He came in ready to run. It's a big difference in that drive.
Marcus Howell. 1 block, and Howell up to the 35-yard line. Jason Pottinger leading the cover team.
But you gotta love the urgency of these offenses, because when the Calgary Stampeders got the football to start this game, it was 2 quick plays. One outside to Ryan Thelwell. Nice throw by Henry Burris to get things started. And the very next play, handed it off to Joffrey Reynolds, and goodbye. He's in the end zone. That's how this game started. And then the BC Lions take it all the way down the field and match that touchdown, and we've got the game out of the gate that we expected.
Stamp plays were 30 and 46 yards long. And now Reynolds hit at the line of scrimmage, bounces off. And Joffrey Reynolds pounds his way to the 42. That's a good 6-yard run when he looked like he'd be stopped for no gain.
Jamal Johnson was so quick to pursue there that he actually overran Joffrey Reynolds. Reynolds really didn't have to make a move here. All he has to do is sort of plant his feet because Johnson flies right by him right there. And then he just bounces outside of that. But you could tell all of a sudden there's more urgency in the defense. Missed some tackles there, but they're flying around all of a sudden after that first drive.
Tyrone Williams comes out. Lions going to a 3-man front. 2nd and 4. Although Otis Floyd now in a stand-up end position, and play is stopped. Seemed to be some confusion as the Lions were
Timeout, BC.
right making a defensive change at the last minute and didn't have the right alignment out there, and they burn a timeout.
You get one per half, and that was the BC Lions one for the first half. Mike Benavides, the defensive coordinator, will send out the signal to Javi Glatt, who called the play in the huddle.
Talked to Mike before the game, and like the Stampeders, he too concerned about too many big plays being surrendered, so that opening drive had to irk the defensive coordinator.
Without question. And Henry Burris said that this BC defense this week he talked about is a risk-reward type defense. They'll take chances, but you can get some yards on it.
Lions thought somebody moved on that offensive line. 2nd and 4. The pass for Teo Johnson complete. There's the product of White Rock, BC. And the tight end has a catch for 8 yards and a first down.
Let's take a look at the BC defense. We haven't shown you that starting lineup, but here they are. Cameron Wake and Brent Johnson combining for 15 sacks on the outside of that BC defensive line. In the linebacking core, you have Javi Glatt, Jamal Johnson, and Otis Floyd with his speed in the linebacking core. And Corey Banks, a lot of pressure on him tonight to perform. He had a good second half versus Edmonton, not so much in the first half 2 weeks ago.
And Lewis lined up at tight end. Joffrey Reynolds, another surge off the left side. Javi Glatt brings him down, but Reynolds into Lions territory to the 51, and he has 8 yards.
Joffrey Reynolds, to establish him early is crucial for Henry Burris. He is so much more successful when he gets Joffrey Reynolds established, because then play action becomes that much more valuable for him. And you know, the one thing I've noticed early in this game by both teams offensively is that their offensive lines are firing off the football. Both offensive lines playing with some urgency.
Reynolds opened the season with 125 yards against the Lions. 2nd and short. And Reynolds at the 50, stopped up there, and looks like he'll be a yard short. And John Huffnagel has his first decision of the night.
Well, they're going to want to take a look at it, and even if they know they're short, they still want to know exactly how much by.
It's like it is under a yard.
In the middle of the field, it's not a disaster completely if you're short and don't make it. And when you're that short, you automatically go.
Almost get the feel that the postseason's not far away when you see these two teams slugging it out as they have so far in the opening 11 minutes.
Well, take a look at that West Division, and that's why. I mean, it's so tight in the West Division that, you know, 2-3 losses in a row and you're out of it.
3rd and the length of the football. Burris pushing off the right side behind the rookie Dimitri Sumpas, and should have the first down.
It'll be an interesting matchup to watch tonight with Dimitri Sumpas and Jesse Newman in the inside guard positions against two of the best in Aaron Hunt and Tyrone Williams. And I've said this before, but I often will do a survey with defensive and offensive linemen asking them who is the toughest to block. And you look at this defensive line for the BC Lions with Brent Johnson, Cameron Wake, and Aaron Hunt and Tyrone Williams. They say that Aaron Hunt for sure, but Cameron Wake off the edge. This is the toughest D-line to block in the league.
18 sacks from the front four alone. A pitch right side. Reynolds is swamped there. Big play by Jamal Johnson.
Yeah, obviously that first drive has given Jamal Johnson a bit of a wake-up call. He missed the tackle in the first play of this drive because he over-pursued. He was there so quickly. And this time, Jamal Johnson is going to fly to the football. There's Joffrey Reynolds on the little toss, and look how quickly Jamal closed. In fact, he ran past Javi Glatt, who had, by position, was closer to Joffrey Reynolds.
Joffrey Reynolds, 64 yards in the opening quarter, has gone past Gene Sykes into 5th on the all-time Stampeder rushing list. Second down, that pass is caught in traffic. Kenyon Rambo up with it, with Dante Marsh and Corey Banks enveloping him.
Well, Dante Marsh was the guy covering him, and Banks just basically broke to the football. Corey Banks to the left of your screen is going to fly open, and he's going to open up and try and help out because that ball is tipped at the line. But you can see how Dante Marsh had Rambo right around the head, and he still hung on to that football somehow.
Like Tyrone Williams got his left paw on the ball. Nonetheless, an 11-yard gain and a first down. Burris looking deep into the corner. Incomplete. Trying to hook up with Jermaine Copeland.
Corey Banks in coverage, and I mentioned the Banks against Edmonton 2 weeks ago in his first half, gave up 3 touchdown passes. That was on the heels of a game that he didn't play very well in Edmonton. There's Copeland right in the slot back position. He's the guy who hit the line of scrimmage on the fly. So it's one-on-one to the left of your screen, 24 and 80, and that time Banks responds. Is in perfect position, aggressively plays the man, not the football, but looks back so he doesn't draw the penalty.
Mike Benavides said he had a good week of practice, but after the last game, Corey Banks needed a good first quarter. 2nd and 10. Time underneath. Rambo the catch. And he'll be stopped at the 26, close to the first down. Looks like he's within a yard. Kenyon Rambo, the most dangerous weapon in week 1 against the Lions.
And 42 catches coming in, a favorite target for Henry Burris this year. Well, when he gets down in that scoring range, the closer he gets, the more important his slot backs become.
They come up a yard short, 9 for Rambo. And John Hufnagel didn't take long to send Sandro DeAngelis out.
Well, it's a long yard. It's over a yard.
So DeAngelis from 34 yards out. He's only missed 4 this year, 2 in the opening week against BC. Brett Ralph puts it down, and Sandro splits the uprights. And the Calgary offense looks sharp. They lead by a field goal. More games, more sports, more coverage, more TSN. TSN 2 launching August 29th. For information, contact your local television provider. Minute 5 remaining in a very interesting first quarter. 3 possessions, 3 scores.
Offenses look sharp, Chris. Yeah.
And the scouting report from the guys involved, like Wally Buono said, this might be a low-scoring game. DeAngelis kicking it to Ian Smart. And Smart brought down at the 31. Will step right back out with exactly a minute to go. Opening quarters. 10-7 Lions at BC Place Stadium, where Sarah Orlesky's on the sidelines.
Chris, 2 key personnel that we're going to be watching when the Lions have the ball tonight is Lions quarterback Jarius Jackson and Stampeders middle linebacker Juwan Armour. And these 2 are fierce competitors on the field, but close friends off it, dating back to their days in NFL Europe with the Barcelona Dragons. And we saw Jackson with the first possession running the ball, but Juwan Armour said that he can really hurt you with the deep pass. That's what his biggest threat is. Now, Armour told me he's never picked off Jackson before, but number 1 will be coming tonight. He wants to make that clear. He wants bragging rights. Jackson's reaction was a chuckle, and he said they have respect for each other, but not a chance.
Oh, watch that. We saw that great spin move on the opening Lions touchdown drive that Jackson used to avoid a Armour tackle.
Armour has an interception on the season, not against Jarius Jackson. Love to get that tonight. And will drop into pass coverage as well. He is their key run stopper at middle linebacker, but he's got the quickness to be able to intercept the ball.
There's Jarius Jackson incompletion. Here comes the rush. Jackson gets it away quickly. And a catch and a first down for Geroy Simon. Up close to the 45.
Well, Geroy Simon recognized the blitz, and the blitz was coming from Juwan Armour. So as he sees the linebacker coming, he knows quickly that he has to turn around and create a target. And Jarius Jackson threw that low and away so that Calvin Bannister couldn't get there.
Of course, Geroy Simon won last year's receiving crown on the final game against Calgary with a 211-yard monster night. Final play opening quarter. On a roll, in some trouble. And the pass skips at the feet of the intended receiver, Rufus Skillard. Great pressure by Juwan Armour on Jarius Jackson. First quarter stats brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
123 yards for the Calgary Stampeders, 90 for the BC Lions. I love the intensity and the sense of urgency from both offenses, both offensive lines out to a good start here.
But as well played as we have seen games so far this year, with 4 possessions in the game, 3 scores, and 1 possession still underway.
Yeah, both offenses sharp. Jarius Jackson is running the ball successfully early.
And on the sidelines with us is Dwayne Ford. Dwayne?
Thanks, Chris. And much has been made of this matchup between Calgary's offensive line, particularly their tackles, against BC's defensive ends, Cam Wake and Brent Johnson. They've done a very good job so far here tonight, as they did in week 1, but they've had a little bit of help. Part of Calgary's game plan for slowing down those ends involves using the slot backs, particularly Nick Lewis, to crack block, and also using backs, Joffrey Reynolds and Teo Johnson, to chip on their way to the flats to make those defensive ends look around and get their heads on a swivel and slow their upfield rush.
2nd and 10, and a pass for Jason Claremont was long, and the Lions drive stopped short.
That's interesting too, because we'll see now with the BC punt that Lions defense come out here and take a look at that matchup. And I think you have a guy like Cameron Wake, like Dwayne mentioned, you have to get some help for the defensive, or the offensive tackles, I should say. And we'll watch to see if Joffrey Reynolds doing a little chipping off the edge, or if Nick Lewis is coming down to crack block.
First punt of the game. Paul McCallum in. Marcus Howell is back. Good kick. Howell backpedals to his 15. Got a block. Into the open field. Across midfield. And down to the 40-yard line. Paul McCallum helped cut off Marcus Howell. A 55-yard return. Matt Grudegood came close to a clip that helped spring him.
Real good block by Julian Battle right at the point of attack to the left of your screen, and then Howell makes the first guy miss, and when he does that, he gets a little open field into the middle, and Paul McCallum saves a touchdown, looks like, by just diving and making Howell go up over top of him, although Claremont was closing quickly.
Marcus Howell with the longest punt return for the Stampeders in 2008. Sets up Henry Burris, 1st and 10 at the BC 40. Good protection, a lot of steamboats, and now he has to throw it away. A coverage sack, or a coverage play, forcing Burris to avoid the sack.
Heard Dwayne talk about Cameron Wake and his great start to the season. Again, 25 tackles, 8 sacks, and you see his partner Brent Johnson right there at 7, 15 sacks between the two. When you have that much strength and power on the outside, you have to help your offensive line. The way you do that is line up tight ends like the Calgary Stampeders just did. Brought Nick Lewis in to line up Nick Lewis over top of Cameron Wake, and that makes it further away from the quarterback when Cameron Wake tries to line up outside. So there's lots of different ways to help out when you got rush ends to take care of.
Dante Marsh on the corner, the strong side corner, getting attention, so we will step out. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN, brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. So Dante Marsh goes to the sidelines. Corey Banks moves to the corner. And on 2nd and 10, here's Nick Lewis, flag down. Nick Lewis bounced off the first contact from Ryan Phillips. Would have the first down. However, there is a penalty marker, and it looks like it's coming back.
Brett Ralph made a block right at the point of attack. I'm not sure if that block was from behind or not. It looked like on LeVar Glover. He was the wide receiver on the screen side of that play.
Major foul. Drag back block. Calgary number 80. 15-yard penalty. 2nd down repeated.
Jermaine Copeland. And we've heard teams around the league talk about this with Calgary. And it is only the first, maybe the second time we've seen it called.
Well, basically, you can't come from too far outside, and Copeland is out here, right over there. And he's coming in from so far outside, you can't crack on that area right there. You can see the crack block. Got to get closer to the offensive line if you're going to come from the receiver spot and go down low on the knees of a defender.
So the ball back at midfield. 2nd and 25. A pump one way and they screen it, and Otis Floyd was waiting. And he brings down Joffrey Reynolds for a loss of 5.
Interesting, though, when you have receivers that are willing to crack block, because it is illegal block if it's done correctly. I mean, this play is just snuffed out by Otis Floyd. But obviously it causes those defensive ends to really think about where the receivers are. It can take their concentration a little bit away from their pass rush move, because they don't see the receiver coming in there. Copeland was just too far away from the line of scrimmage, from the offensive line.
So Burke Dales to punt for the first time. And he blasts one. Ian Smart backpedals to his 6. The outstanding returner, Ian Smart, up to the 25. And what contact there. Pretty good there for Calgary. 2 minutes into the second quarter, let's rejoin Sarah Orlesky.
Chris, Stefan Logan has turned a lot of heads in his first CFL season, but he'll certainly have his hands full tonight against Calgary, the league's top run defense. Now, Calgary's defense said that they would rather be facing Joe Smith tonight because you know as a defense where he's going to run. Stefan Logan at 5'6" is difficult to see behind that O-line, and he will make you miss. In the words of another, they said that you can tell that he is running with a real passion right now. This is something that they said they're going to have to work on, and that the Calgary defense is concentrating on gap cancellation.
Logan in his 4th start, and a pass over the middle. He is complete to Rufus Skillard up at the 30-yard line.
Both these teams have to be concerned with gap cancellation, like Sarah mentioned, because of the great running backs in this game. Stefan Logan, or if it's Calgary's offense, you can see these are the gaps, 1, 2, 3, or A, B, C, going from center outside to the end. It goes the same the opposite way. So very simply, if you're canceling gaps, let's say it's BC, Brent Johnson, Cameron Wake, they've got the outside, the C gaps, inside gaps by Hunt and Williams. Linebackers take the B gaps. That's gap cancellation in its simplest form.
2nd and 5, passing over the middle. Paris Jackson, first catch, a first down. And the ball up at the 37-yard line.
So both teams are very concerned about that gap cancellation. We drew you up the defense for the BC Lions, but it's the same for the Calgary defense as well. Now, each assignment will be different depending on the play call from the bench defensively. So the linebacker might not always be in B gap. Juwan Armour might have the A gap or the C gap on the outside, but that's what it is. There's gaps in the O-line, and the defense has to cancel those gaps.
Calgary number 1 against the run, but not here. Stefan Logan bursting all the way to the Calgary 38-yard line. 35 for Stefan Logan.
So let's take a look right here at what gap Stefan Logan's going to take. It looked to me like he was either in this gap here, which would be B gap, or in this gap here, which would be A gap. Let's take a look when he runs this football. He's going to, Lyle Green steps up, cuts back, and he's going to hit it right back into the B gap. So the Calgary Stampeders canceled all the gaps except one, and Stefan Logan took advantage of it. That B gap was open.
There's the element that Wally Buono feels Logan brings that he wasn't getting from Joe Smith, that breakaway speed, the big play, and now play action for Claremont that almost picked Julian Battle in coverage.
And Julian Battle did a nice job of forcing Jason Claremont out of his route. Claremont was looking like he wanted to run a deep corner route, and Julian Battle, just by playing physical football, forced him to flatten that thing out, and really Jarius Jackson lost his target. Just to the left of your screen there, you see that corner. It looked like it was supposed to be designed to go deeper. Julian Battle just played him tough on that out and pushed him flat.
2nd and 10, so Marcus Parker checks out. 3 linemen, extra defensive back in his passing situation. Leroy Simon the catch, and he's down at the 28. Took exception to the hit, and we've got flags flying, and you wonder if they'll cancel each other out or whether Simon gets the only call on the hit from Dwight Anderson.
And I don't know that Dwight Anderson did anything, so this might be just 2 flags, both that saw the same thing, which was that Geroy Simon got up and gave Dwight Anderson a push. Here's the hit. He's down, but he hasn't been touched by contact, and I guess Simon took exception to the fact that Dwight Anderson didn't just touch him down by contact, but actually hit him. We'll see what they do here. And they will also measure to see how far Geroy Simon got with the football.
And you're right, Anderson did not
just short
retaliate. And Simon holding the hip, which is maybe a reason why he took exception. And he's still jawing with Dwight Anderson.
Now, just to go back to that thought that Sarah had on the sideline with Stefan Logan, and the one word she used that Wally Buono has talked about is his passion, and he's running with passion. And the other guy that started at tailback for the BC Lions until 2 games ago maybe wasn't showing as much of that passion on and off the field. And then when they look at the numbers and compared the 2 backs between Stefan Logan and Big Joe Smith, they could see that Logan's numbers
major foul
in all the categories were better.
Unnecessary roughness. BC 81. The penalty will be enforced from the end of the play. Back 15 yards. 3rd down.
That's why they measured. They wanted to see if he had the 1st down.
That's
before
right.
They tacked the 15 back, but he did not. He came up short. And so now,
well, it's 3rd down. The BC Lions have to
16.
they have to either punt the football or try a real long field goal. And that's why they measured it first, because if Geroy Simon on this catch gets 1st down territory, then it's 1st down minus the 15 yards. He didn't quite get 1st down territory for that push. He gets the penalty. It was actually the 2nd one. They let the 1st one go.
And that cost the Lions a scoring opportunity for Callum. Try and pin. Looking for the corner and just missed it, and it'll go out for a single point. And now a 2-point Calgary lead. Still time to enter for Wendy's Kick for $1 million. Go to tsn.ca/Wendy's, plus watch the CFL on TSN for keywords to get bonus entries to get your kicks at those 4 great prizes.
My coaching point is keep your head down. You're trying to kick for $1 million, keep your head down.
They have to do more than that to get the $1 million, but that's a start.
That's a start.
You're back to basics. There's Burris taking off up across the 40-yard line, and he's brought down by Jamal Johnson.
We talked about these defensive ends for the BC Lions here, and and how dominant they can be, Cameron Wake and Brent Johnson. It's actually a nice matchup for Calgary, who leads the league in sacks allowed with just 7 coming in. That's really remarkable with their young players up front. But when you look outside and Jeff Pilon, I mean, that's a nice matchup to get Pilon on either Cameron Wake or Brent Johnson, depending on how the Lions line up. That's a veteran player of 9 years on top of his game.
Johnson and Wake were shut out in week 1 against Calgary. No sacks. Henry Burris up top looking for Johnson. And he hangs on after the hit from Baron Miles. Couple of catches for the White Rock native, Teo Johnson.
Looks like Baron Miles got the worst of that hit too, as Teo Johnson uses his body to not allow Miles to get to the football and to make sure he's like a shock absorber. He uses the back of his body so make sure that Miles can't fight through it. You can see he knows Miles is coming, but he protects it and keeps his back to him, and then it looked like Miles took the worst of the hit.
Corey Banks stays on the corner. Dante Marsh out of the game. Jerome Dennis joins the Lions secondary. And it's 1st and 10, draw. Reynolds bounces it outside. Joffrey Reynolds tumbling down to the 23.
That was the loss of containment, or if we're talking gap cancellation, that outside gap out here is called the C gap, and Joffrey Reynolds is going to end up getting back all the way over there. Cameron Wake slides down and loses that C gap and then has to try and spin out of there, but by then it's too late. So Reynolds, with patience, gets back to the C gap.
16 more for Joffrey Reynolds. He has 80 in this first half on 6 carries. Burris under pressure, avoids the sack, and takes off, and he'll slide out at the 20-yard line. Henry Burris with 3, but he did well to avoid a loss.
He was pretty close on the sideline. Brent Johnson has moved to an inside position. Look at him. He's usually a rush end, and this time the Lions move him right to the inside defensive line position to try and maybe get different matchups and maybe get Brent Johnson on one of the young guys, and Demetrius Sumpas or Jesse Newman. Burris recognizes it and bounces outside quickly, and I was wondering if that could be a Lions penalty on the sideline.
Like Glatt was trying to avoid serious contact. Cameron Wake had the pressure, but Burris got away and sets up 2nd and 7. And the out, that pass caught. Kenyon Rambo very close to the sidelines, and Javi Glatt wants a challenge flag, and I think this is a good challenge.
I do
Looked
too.
like Rambo had his foot out of bounds.
It really did, and they're marking it as if it was a catch, but Javi Glatt's trying to convince Wally Buono to throw the challenge flag. We'll have a great look at it for you in this isolation. Look at the left foot. Is that on the white line? You only need 1 foot inbounds, but the question was that left foot on the white line or not?
Challenge flag is out. Officials in great position, though, and that angle might not be enough to overturn the call.
Boy, it sure looked live like his foot was outside, but it looked a lot closer when we looked at that replay again, and Wally Buono is going to challenge whether or not he was in bounds.
BC is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass. We'll review the play.
Here's another look. You know, he may have had that foot in bounds. I mean, if you hold it right there, do you see green between that left foot and the sideline? Remember, it's ruled as a catch, so they have to have enough evidence to be able to overturn it. And that might be the best look.
On his toes, and Andre Prue's going to have to take a few looks at this, I think, because it's when he actually has control of the football.
Yeah, I was going to say,
well,
is control of the football, because the toe drags. Like, it looks like it's in there,
but the catch is made there,
and the toe drags to the outside. He's got the catch, but does he have, is that enough to be controlled? Remember, we're slowing it right down because he is out of bounds as of now.
Boy, that's a terrific play by Rambo, though, showing great dexterity.
And as you mentioned, Chris, you can see the official who is right there, and his sight line is really good down that line.
So Andre Prue is conferring with Larry Rohan upstairs. Didn't get a challenge last night, which I think is one of the first games this season we haven't seen one.
And that was interesting to see the official not in the challenge booth.
While you're wondering, maybe they're having some technical difficulties. There have been a few cases this year where the video is not available immediately under the hood.
And if they don't have it, they go with the ruling on the field, which would be a catch for Calgary.
Upon review, the Calgary player at his foot on the sideline. Therefore, the pass is incomplete. It's going to be third down, 7 yards to go from the 20-yard line.
That was that close. I mean, you could make an argument either way here, I think, and it was that close. And again, I think, Chris, you were right. It was about when does he have possession, because he may be barely in bounds there, but within a split second, that toe was out. Now he has possession, and then
they're rolling at control. The foot
was out of bounds
onto the chalk. Well, Javi Klatt was insistent right away that the Lions challenge, and it turns out to be a good one. And DeAngelis has to come on to attempt a 27-yard field goal. DeAngelis is 2 for 2. And the Stampeders now lead 13-8. And we've seen this on more than one occasion already. Tyrone Williams in the middle of it. Rob Lazio. And it's not the first time tonight, and probably not the last.
Well, it's the playoff atmosphere, but it doesn't have the playoff implications. So, you know, in the playoffs, you just don't want to get any penalties. You don't want to get thrown out of a game, because that's it. It's either win or go home. But it has that playoff intensity, this game, certainly. And the players know they can maybe get away with a little more in the regular season than they could in the playoffs.
Dwayne getting nasty down there.
Well, we've seen a few tussles at the end of the plays, guys, and most of them seem to be involving the BC nose tackle Tyrone Williams against Calgary center Rob Lazio. This one started in the first quarter on a toss play. Williams threw Lazio to the ground at the end of the play, and they came up jawing and pushing. They've continued on the last 2 field goals where they've gone head-to-head. Usually there's not a whole lot of contact on those plays, but it can give a nose tackle a good opportunity to take a run at one of the down linemen.
Would you want to get that guy mad?
No. Look, I mean, look at the size of his arms. I mean,
22-inch biceps, I'm told.
I mean, that you get hit by that and you wake up about a week later.
So Ian Smart is back. And the leading kick returner in the league. Up across the 30, outside, flag as he spins up to the 48-yard line. But there was a flag thrown at about the 32-yard line. Ian Smart has been electrifying this season.
It was later in the return, too. It's going to go against BC and be a holding call.
Holding. BC number 93. 10-yard penalty. First down.
That's Matt Kirk called on the hold.
There's 93 right there, Matt Kirk. He's leading that wedge. You can see the hold and then the tackle.
So the ball brought back to the BC.
It's a big penalty.
They're going to move it back.
Participation. BC at 13 men in the huddle. This is a 10-yard penalty. First down.
Wow. I was going to say the ball was brought back to the 25, but they're taking it 10 more yards on the 13 men in the huddle penalty. And the Lions have a long field ahead of them. Jason Claremont from out of the backfield, now in motion. And here's Logan. What a burst. Boy, he has some giddy up. And he's up to the 25 and a first down. That'll be the 10th carry of at least 10 yards for Stephon Logan in 4 starts.
Juwan Armour is right in here, and watch Juwan Armour try and basically be a traffic cop and say, there's Stephon Logan and I've got him. And when he hesitates like that, he ends up getting blocked by Shirko Hadji-Rajuli. But that's the matchup, especially down at this end of the field for the BC Lions. It's Juwan Armour against Stephon Logan.
4, 5, 6, 7.
So we got 10, 2nd and 10. Up at the 25. Here comes the rush. And wide open was Skillern, and the ball overthrown. Calvin Bannister, closest man in coverage. And it'll be 3rd down.
Juwan Armour that time, he's just spying and dropping to deep in the middle, but this is how good he has been on the run this season. And when you look at this matchup tonight with Stephon Logan, look at a little Avon Coburn and then what he's accomplished when he played and when Armour was in. Just 5 carries as Montreal went away from the rush. He's shut down Wes Cates, Trey Smith, and Hamilton, and then didn't play middle linebacker in the other games.
3rd down. And McCallum to kick it away. Marcus Howell from the 36. Marcus Howell's having a good night. Up to the 51-yard line. A 15-yard return for Howell. And good field position for Henry Burris.
You know, I mentioned early on that the Calgary Stampeders lead the league in sacks allowed, and that's allowed Henry Burris to sit back and be a lot more comfortable in the pocket. And then you look at his completion percentage, and that's the result. And you give a quarterback like Burris and his experience some time, he's had time to throw the football from that offensive line, not only in this game, but this year. And that completion percentage skyrockets for Burris.
Touchdown pass in every game this year, 13 on the season. Came into this week 2nd in the league in that department. 30 yards. First down. Henry will load it up, and he's got a man open, and Rambo brings it down. What a catch. Looked like he may have mistimed it, but there is a marker back at the 35-yard line.
Corey Banks is pointing back towards that marker. I'm not sure if there was a little pushing going on between Rambo, but what a catch. It looked like that was overthrown.
Pass interference. BC number 24. Penalties decline. First down.
So Corey Banks, the interference call will be declined. The catch stands at a 37-yard gain.
Kenyon Rambo right there is going to waggle down in motion. He's one-on-one with Banks, and he runs that outside move. Corey Banks wraps his hands all the way around his waist, and that's why it looked like that ball was going to be overthrown. And what a catch for Kenyon Rambo to try and gather that up. He basically made up about 5 yards in a split second.
Again, Corey Banks on the corner in the absence of the injured Dante Marsh. Burris over the middle. Is that picked? No. Hobby Klatt almost came up with it. Laid out. Trying to scoop up the tip.
Looked like Henry Burris rushed this a little bit. He had crossing routes in front of him. One's going to come in one direction like that, and the other's going to come in the other direction like that. And if he waits a little bit longer so that he can get his receivers to clear through, you can see they're both there together. You see Nick Lewis is right there with Reggie Williams, and they're stacked. He needs to wait a little bit longer to let them clear out.
Boy, every play there's a lot of changes on both sides of the football. 2nd and 10. Just over 4 minutes left, and Burris has to take a timeout.
Timeout. Calgary.
And there is a lot of personnel shuffling going on out there. And again, we've mentioned 7 different Calgary receivers being shuttled through. George Cortez's offensive game plan.
That's what happens when you give coaches like George Cortez and John Huffnagel an extra week to prepare, because the West Division had that bye week, so they had a lot of time to sit down and write up new formations and self-scout, as we mentioned last night, that teams love to do when they have extra time. Look at their own film and see if there's any tendencies that they need to break. And you give those offensive coordinators and offensive minds some more time to work on plays, you're going to see lots of formations.
And you're going to hear lots of noise. 2nd and 10 from the BC 14. Burris under pressure, has to eat it. Back at the 20, Cameron Wake has his league-leading 9th quarterback sack in his first against the Stamps in 2008.
And he dials it up against Jeff Pilon. And Cameron Wake, dynamite over here on the left side of the line, and they line up in the tight end formation, but they release Nick Lewis and do not chip. Remember, Dwayne Ford early on said sometimes they'll bring Nick Lewis in to help on Cameron Wake. Well, they brought Nick Lewis down there, but he didn't hit him. He released into the pattern, and that allowed Wake to go one-on-one on Jeff Pilon, and he beats Pilon to the outside.
He's had a couple of shots at Burris tonight, finally brings him down at an opportune time. And DeAngelis on to attempt from 27 yards out. And Sandro's got another, his 20th field goal of the season. And that gives Calgary an 8-point lead with 3:38 remaining in this first half. Well, the royal family of rock returns with a new season of family values, Simmons style. Gene Simmons Family Jewels premieres this Sunday at 7 Eastern on Much More Music. And those two will be watching.
Yeah, that kind of fits. You know, when Nick Lewis doesn't chip on Cameron Wake there, that's the downside of having to chip or having to help out a defensive tackle like Jeff Pilon or Ben Archibald, depending on what side. That time you saw Nick Lewis release into a pattern. If he stays to help out blocking, it takes him out of the pass routes, and that takes a receiver, a target, away from Henry Burris. So there is a downside to helping out on a defensive end like Cameron Wake or Brent Johnson, and we just saw it for Calgary.
Well, this has had the makings of a heavyweight tussle here in the first half. Stampeders trying to end a 7-game losing streak under the dome here at BC Place. DeAngelis kicks it downfield, and Ian Smart takes it at his 10. And Smart down by Dwayne Carpenter and company. And wearing the mic for us on Friday night is Nick Lewis, Geronimo.
There we go. Let's go. Hey, you're doing a good job up front, fellas. Doing a good job up front.
Tell me because you're mic'd up and all
No. I talk every game.
Hey.
I talk every game. I told him first down. I know I hit somebody in the statue one. The first game, my whole arm went numb for a minute. I was like, oh, I'm glad I got the extra pad in there.
Who's Rob Lazio tried to kid? He talks every game.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Not going to keep him quiet. Which Charleston Hughes with a tackle in the backfield.
Again, Chris, it's amazing how much they are in such good shape. I mean, I don't know about the guys on the panel like Matty and Big Schultze and Jock. I mean, but when I played, I couldn't talk that much. I was looking for the oxygen most of the time, and I look at him. We will have enough to run a full feature movie off sounds of the game from Nick Lewis, and we thank him for wearing the mic, of course.
Absolutely. They have given the 3-minute warning here in the first half at BC Place. 3 minutes remaining here, first half, BC Place Stadium, and then Rona at the half. We'll check in with the guys. There's a rumor that they may be let off the chain next week, Labor Day.
Oh boy.
Look out, Regina. But they'll have their views of what's been a Interesting first half here under the dome. 2nd and 12. Jarius Jackson finds Skiller to catch, and a first down up at the 40-yard line. Taken out by Michael Abinjo.
You know, Jarius Jackson had lots of success in the first drive of this football game, moved it right down the field, and the way he did that was by running the ball. This little quick throw is a good timing throw on the outside, gets his passing game in a little bit of a rhythm, but he has gone away from that run since then.
Rufus Skillern's been more active tonight than in other games. Just 4 catches coming into this game. He's had a couple in the first half. Now Logan. And he's brought down at the 43.
Jarius Jackson had, in that very first drive, he had 4 rushing plays. In fact, he started the drive out with this run to the outside. And when Jarius Jackson is athletic, that's his strength. He's an athletic quarterback. He's got a strong arm, a live arm. He can run the football. He can move around, buy himself some time. A nice move in the open field here. That ended up in a touchdown right here to Raleigh Lumbala. Now, since then, he's only rushed the ball 1 time. There was 4 rushes in the first drive, 1 since then.
Looking at 2nd and 6 here. 3-man rush, and the ball batted down. And another play by Charleston Hughes, who's had a good first half for the Stamps.
Yeah, he took his man all the way back into the lap of Jarius Jackson. Jackson tried to go to the backside of the formation. He drops down the hash. He wants to go to the wide side of the field, and Jason Jimenez gets forced back by Charleston Hughes. And Jackson just runs out of room.
Hughes released at the end of camp, but the Stampeders lost 2 defensive ends in the opening game against BC. They called him back, and he's been a mainstay since. On the hop. Marcus Howell not going anywhere this time. Jerome Dennis, first man downfield. Henry Burris has 2:08 remaining in the first half. One of the keys to success this year, he says, is just keeping it simple.
And the thing is, as a quarterback, young quarterback, and being on some teams that, you know, we had the talent, or, you know, we had different things going on where guys may have been confused here and there. And so I try to do more just to overcompensate for that and not put myself in tough situations. But what do you know, I ended up being in tough situations. Well, now, I mean, the thing is, I just let the guys do their job. And my job is to get the ball to those guys and just complete the ball. And that was one of the first things when George Cortez came on. He said, hey, just complete the ball. It doesn't matter what the play call is. Just get the ball in one of our guys' hands and let them guys go to work. And you just sit back and eat popcorn.
You're not going to eat too much popcorn with Cameron Wake bearing down on you.
No, and they continue to sort of attack that side of the field. But that's interesting that early in his career, Henry Burris would try to force the ball, which is not just Henry Burris. Young quarterbacks do that. They want to try and win the game on every throw. They want to try and score on every throw rather than just complete the ball, get it out there. Sometimes that little 5-yard dump-off pass turns into a big gain because your athlete makes a move and makes something happen. And that's what he's learned, and he's matured in that area. To help with that man, George Cortez.
2nd and 10, 2:02 on the clock. Here in the first half. Reynolds releases from the backfield, and Burris in trouble and dropped again. This time it's Ricky Foley. Let's check back in with Dwayne Ford.
Well, Chris, we've been watching the ongoing battle at the line of scrimmage and extracurricular battle between Rob Lazio and Tyrone Williams. I asked Tyrone in the last series what was going on between the two of them. He says Lazio's just a dirty player. He's got no respect for the way he plays the game. So, Glenn, you asked who wants to make Tyrone Williams mad. Rob Lazio has succeeded in doing it here tonight.
Interesting. And, you know, I mean, you know that Rob Lazio, I don't know if he's a dirty player. The propaganda begins between the two.
Ian Smart fields the punt at the 35, and he gets hit by a wave and driven back. By the way, Ricky Foley with the sack, his 2nd of the year, and that's 2 for the Lions on the night.
But you know, you want to try and do that when you get that matchup, Rob Lazio and Tyrone Williams, and try and do something that gets him fired up and off his game. So Lazio did something to Tyrone Williams, maybe at the bottom of the pile, which happens on almost every single play, or you never know. A lot of things can fly around in those trenches, and you get a guy off his game a little bit, not thinking about his assignment, maybe you get a play.
Williams in his 7th year with the Lions. Lazio, an 11-year CFL vet. Will fake to Logan, outside Skillern again. He has the catch at the 50-yard line, just beyond the BC 50 with 90 seconds remaining.
Chris Jones, defensive coordinator for the Calgary Stampeders. One of the concerns in the bye that they looked at when they were doing their scouting was they were giving up too many big plays. They like to play aggressively in the secondary. They like to get up and play bump and run sometimes. Brandon Browner is one of the guys who does it almost on every down. He's up there again at the bottom of your screen. Susceptible a little to big plays.
2nd and 4. And down the sideline, Sider was pushed out by Brandon Browner. First time they've attacked the rangy corner tonight. Browner took him out of bounds.
Just as we mentioned it, that was the matchup they go to. Brandon Browner in bump and run on Geroy Simon. And the BC Lions will often put Simon by himself down at the bottom, and they'll try and get that matchup, and Jarius Jackson goes right to it.
Pass interference. Calgary number 27.
Geroy Simon catches that with one hand while being pushed out of bounds, and Brandon Browner gets a penalty for the push. So far tonight, before that play, Calgary had it look like they were improving, trying to stop some and limit some of those big plays.
Well, coming into this game, 34 plays of 20 yards or more, 7 of 40 yards plus.
And Brandon Browner is going to walk right up there again. This time it'll be on Paris Jackson again at the bottom.
1st and 10 at the 36. Time for Jackson. Looking for Jackson. And it's caught, but out of bounds. He got in behind Browner, but the throw took him out of bounds inside the end zone.
Right back to that matchup, and this time it's going to be right there. Paris Jackson, you can see he has a step on Brandon Browner, who lined up 1 yard off the line of scrimmage. You know, the Calgary Stampeders in the secondary lead the league in the secondary with knockdowns. They do not lead. In fact, they're last in the league in interceptions. When you play bump and run like Brandon Browner plays all the time, it is tough to intercept the ball. And that time he was beaten. The ball just took Paris Jackson out of bounds.
2nd and 10. Isaac showed blitz and then backs off. And Jackson across the middle and tangled up was Skillern. Dwayne Carpenter in coverage, along with Calvin Bannister.
You look what the BC Lions went right back. This time Jarius Jackson missed this one, but Geroy Simon got that same matchup on Browner. And look, and he just slides inside, and he beats him too deep. Geroy Simon is waving frantically for the football as Browner tries to catch up. But that time, Jarius Jackson looked over the middle, and Geroy Simon cannot believe it. Interesting series there for Brandon Browner. Maybe dodged one.
Who hadn't really been challenged up until the final Lions possession in all likelihood of this first half.
I have a lot of respect for a guy, though, that he lets a guy get in behind him a couple of times. It doesn't hurt him because the ball's out of bounds. He goes right back to bump and run.
Paul McCallum within 12 points of 2,000 in his career. And just makes that one from 44 yards out. And he's now within 9 as the score tightens 16-11 Calgary. Here again, Dwayne Ford.
Well, I've got the latest update in the saga that is Rob Lazio versus Tyrone Williams. I asked Rob Lazio, what's going on out there between you and Tyrone? Lazio smiled, and I'll paraphrase here. He said, I'm kicking his butt.
Now, did he accuse Williams of being dirty?
He didn't say that. I thought he might, but...
Well, we got to give both sides equal time.
Well, and you know, both players are straight-up players. They're just having a battle down there in the trenches, and you got to love that.
I think Dwayne's having some fun down there.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
There's Reynolds, and Otis Floyd shuts that door.
Oh, and let's go right to it, because, you know, Rob Lazio, we're gonna give you a look right here, because you cue the matchup. Okay, cue the match. Look at Lazio, 68. Look at Tyrone, and this time Lazio wins that one. Little takedown there on Tyrone Williams, who will have to come off now because it's a passing down. So I have to wait for chapter 2 here.
Ricky Foley back in. 2nd and 9. Bunch formation short side of the field. And Henry steps up. And over the middle, Teo Johnson's got another catch, punished by Reggie Miles. But it is a Calgary first down with 36 seconds remaining.
He's a big target. Teo Johnson, 260 pounds, 6'5". And he cuts across the middle. Big target for Henry Burris. I love the way Burris just used his feet to slide and buy himself a little more time, extend the play, get Teo Johnson open.
3rd catch for Johnson, who had 3 on the season coming into this game. 1st and 10. And the pocket collapses. And for the 3rd time tonight, Henry Burris is dropped for a sack. And this time, Aaron Hunt celebrates his 3rd sack of the season.
Well, they're turning it up. I mean, 2 games versus the Edmonton Eskimos, 3 sacks in each of those games. They had 6 sacks in the last 2 weeks. And Aaron Hunt is right here. Not Paris Jackson, Aaron Hunt, number 90. And he pushes up the field and just continues to work on Jesse Newman.
And now within 1 of the CFL leading Montreal Alouettes in the sack race. Clock running, 10 seconds remaining. 2nd and 17. Reynolds. And will be brought down at the 44. You know, 1 second on the clock here at BC Place.
That's the one thing I think they'll make the adjustment. Remember in the first series, Joffrey Reynolds had the big run, and the Calgary Stampeders gone away from Joffrey Reynolds, just like the BC Lions went away from Jarius Jackson running the ball a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised at all if John Huffnagel at halftime goes in and says, let's go back, get some more balance in the offense, get Joffrey Reynolds involved again in that second half.
So the Stamps to run out the clock. Burris to take a knee. And a slugfest of an opening 30 minutes that started with a bang. A 2-play touchdown drive by Calgary. And a long answer by the Lions. Stamps up by 5 at the half.
We back, baby. Friday Night Football, we back. Let's dominate them tonight. LB's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hey.
TSN, the exclusive broadcaster of the CFL and proud home of the 2008 Grey Cup game. We have a good one. Headed to the second half, 16-11 Calgary. First, Sarah Orleski with Wally Buono.
Coach, it seems like it's got very much a playoff intensity out there right now. Is that the way you'd assess it?
Well, it is a very intense game on both sides, and obviously a couple of mistakes hurt us, but it's the kind of game we expected, and it should be a great second half.
You always say that you like your quarterback to manage the game. Jerry's had 74 yards in the first half, no turnovers. Is he doing enough right now, or might we see back in the second half?
No, he's doing fine. We're not going to belabor all that. Right now, it's a tough, intense game. We got to do just a little bit better job.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you.
So a vote of confidence for the starting quarterback, who looked terrific on their opening drive for a touchdown.
Both offenses looked very good on that first drive, Calgary and BC, and then the defense has made some adjustments, played better in the second quarter. Interesting that Wally Buono was, that much behind Jarius Jackson. When you look back to 2 weeks ago against Edmonton, Jarius had 3 yards, 3 touchdowns, but he did throw the 1 interception, and that's what ended up getting Jarius Jackson's spot right on the bench beside Wally Buono. But he was, didn't hesitate to say to Sarah that they're going with Jarius Jackson.
So both teams have been mistake-free. You heard the guys on the panel thinking that this one's so tight that a costly mistake, likely the difference.
And they also talked about those one-on-one matchups, and we'll talk about them some more. Tyrone Williams, Lazio, Brandon Browner on the outside. G-Roy Simon. A lot of one-on-one battles going on tonight.
Some coaching matchups, too, that are interesting. Ian Smart to get things going here in the second half. Well, cut back by Smart, and that was a terrific tackle by Shannon James because it was starting to open up for Ian Smart. Let's compare the quarterback's numbers in the opening 30 minutes.
Jarius Jackson, that 74 yards, he was 50% in that completion percentage, and Henry Burris got off to a good start. Touchdown drive that was only a 2-play drive, and he involved Joffrey Reynolds in the first couple of series. Reynolds only had 8 carries, and he had 84 yards in the first half, which is a nice number, but 46 of them came on 1 run. So we'll see when Burris gets the ball back, if he goes back to Joffrey.
Lions start offensively in the second half from their own 30 with Stefan Logan off the right side. Trying to kick it outside, and Calvin Bannister, who's got great speed as well, stuck with him and limits the gain to 5.
Yeah, you almost have to be very patient with Logan, who is right there as he gets that outside handoff. The little bounce, you have to be patient with him, keep running with him to the outside. Calvin Bannister has the speed that he doesn't have to panic, and if he gets Stephen Logan's pads going to the sideline, he's got a better chance to corral him, a good open field tackle. 2
smallest guys on the field dueling there, and Bannister limits the damage to 4 for Logan at the 34, 2nd and 6. Jackson under pressure. There's Charleston Hughes again. First sack of the night for the Stampeders, and Hughes has his 2nd of the season.
That's the first sack for Hughes, but 2nd of the season for him. First sack tonight, but he has had some pressures tonight. You know, a couple times he was one-on-one with Jason Jimenez and did a nice job of forcing some problems. John Huffnagel talked about it this week leading up to this game. He said that one of the things that they looked at in the film was that they needed to not just get sacks from their defensive line, but some pressures, just harass the quarterback, make him make some mistakes.
But nice to get a stack after not having one in the last 3 games. Howell dropped. Dennis finished it off. Jason Pottinger bolting downfield first as we join Dwayne Ford.
Well, gentlemen, you'll notice here in the second half that Calgary center Rob Lazio has switched to number 57. Rob insists that this is not part of the witness protection program hiding him from Tyrone Williams. In fact, he wants me to know he's not hiding from anyone. He wants Glenn Suter to know number 57, so when you're looking for him to give him that watch at the end of the game, that's what he'll be wearing.
Thanks, Dwayne. Got it. No, number 57, Rob Lazio, and we are watching. This is a fun one-on-one matchup.
At the 39, first down, Calgary, and Joffrey Reynolds with a good run, but penalty marker as Reynolds makes his way up to the 50. Would have been a first down, but a holding call on the play.
Boy, and those two went at it again, and Rob Lazio is...
And is 57 the number that's going to get called?
I'm wondering. He kind of threw Tyrone Williams to the ground.
Holding. Calgary number 57. 10-yard penalty.
Wow.
Still first down.
You know, and you can, and he hates it. And you know, you're looking. You're going to show you the matchup because we've been watching. There it is. Tyrone Williams gets a good push, and right at the end of it, Rob Lazio kind of throws him down. Now he did that a couple times and didn't get called in the first half. That's why he's so upset.
Marking it back 10, 1st and 20. Burris picked off, intercepted. That's Corey Banks. Touchdown. Corey Banks out of the doghouse and into the end zone.
Well, that'll get you there in a hurry. It'll get you out of that doghouse in a hurry.
24th career interception, is 6th against Henry Burris. And this one, he takes back for a major score and a Lions lead.
Little harassment on Henry Burris as he doesn't get hit, but he has some people in front of him. Doesn't get enough on the throw, and Corey Banks gets to the end zone.
Beaten 3 times in the last Lion game by the Eskimos. He said it was all on me. but moved out to the corner tonight. He comes up with the biggest defensive play of the evening.
Chris Schultz mentioned could come down to a turnover. It's early in the second half.
28th takeaway for the Lions defense this year. The CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by Nissan's Make the Call. Play on cfl.nissan.ca for your chance to win a trip to the Grey Cup game in Montreal. 5th career touchdown off an interception by Corey Banks, who almost got pulled in the last game against Edmonton, but redeeming himself here tonight.
You know, since joining the league, though, in 2004, Corey Banks, 24 interceptions. That's as good as any DB since that time.
Lions have their first lead of the night. Joffrey Reynolds has the football, and he plucks it back out to the 45.
All man-to-man for Corey Banks here, and he's going to go with change motion, and there's Banks on the outside right here. Kenyon Rambo is his receiver, who's going to try to come down inside like this. And watch how Otis Floyd will take Teo Johnson, who goes outside. They're in man-to-man. It's still locked up, and Corey Banks does not backpedal. That means that he understands what the route is going to be. He knows what Kenyon Rambo is going to run before he runs it. That's why he didn't back up. He didn't respect that Rambo was going to go deep. He sat on that out route and jumped it.
23rd takeaway in 5.5 games for the Lions defense. Reynolds behind the line of scrimmage. Otis Floyd was waiting. And that Lions defense has a little pep in their step right now.
They sure do, and that puts more pressure on Henry Burris in this play on 2nd and long, because Burris now, after throwing the interception for a touchdown, is looking at a passing down with that BC Lion defense with a little jump in their step right there from Otis Floyd.
9th interception thrown by Burris this season, and he said 10 for the year would be a good total. 2nd and 12, big pressure. Henry gets away. Downfield and wide open is Jermaine Copeland with a catch and a big first down. His first grab of the night takes Calgary to the BC 45.
Pretty good read by Henry Burris, and that's a nice response after the touchdown, because the Lions are going to come from pressure from the outside, and it's going to be from this side of the field, and it's going to be Jerome Dennis, the defensive back, the extra defensive back. He comes from the outside, but Burris picks it up. He knows he's not blocked, so he just slides to the left of the formation and then drops it over the middle.
Big 20-yard pickup for Copeland. On pace for only 660 on the year. That would be his lowest production. And here's Joffrey Reynolds straight ahead. Good yardage brought down by Javi Glatt.
Chris, that's, you know, when we talked about Henry Burris and the young Henry Burris who tried to force plays, the old Henry Burris, after an interception, would come in and try and go deep. He would try to make something happen to make it all go away in one play. And that's a great response and a great example right now of Henry Burris, the mature Henry Burris, who comes out. He, again, gets a little drive going. He's got field goal range and a nice pickup on that blitz.
2nd and a yard. In motion, little option play, and Burris around the goal. Took a big hit there as Jamal Johnson unloaded.
Henry Burris ran out of room. He was running the option to Joffrey Reynolds on the outside, and what happens here is Joffrey Reynolds is trying to maintain that distance right there, and if he can maintain that distance all the way outside, then Henry Burris always has the option to pitch it to him. What happens with Burris, though, is he runs out of room. Jamal Johnson runs him down. He runs out of room, so Joffrey Reynolds can't maintain that 3 or 4 yard distance that he has to stay away from Henry Burris because the sideline's right there.
Jamal Johnson, who Wally Buono compared in his tackling ability to another Johnson, guy who used to play middle linebacker in Calgary, Alondra Johnson. Boy, just on responding to an interception, and just reminded that Henry threw an early one last game against Saskatchewan and then really settled in. He's got Nick Lewis jolted by Baron Miles, but a big catch for Nick Lewis at the 10.
And he threw Nick Lewis open. Baron Miles was hanging high, And if he puts this ball too high and tries to lead Nick Lewis and Baron Miles gets it, it's going to come right down here into the middle of your screen. There comes Nick Lewis, and you see how he throws it short? Just over the linebacker, Javi Glatt, but he throws Nick Lewis open so he can just run under it and protect himself from the hit from Baron Miles.
Boy, that was textbook delivery by Burris. 23 yards for Lewis. First down at the 10. Fake to Reynolds, and now Burris. Down to the 7.
Boy, Cameron Wake, you know, this play is that play where it's like the search, that fake to Joffrey Reynolds to try and hold Cameron Wake, who is right here. What they're trying to do is make Cameron Wake commit to the run, and then Henry Burris is going to pull the ball, but watch the quickness of Wake. He takes away the run, jumps up, contains Henry Burris, and then comes back and gets in the tackle. There are not many players in the game that can do what Cameron Wake just did.
So Wake makes the play. Tyrone Williams gets the tackle. At the 8-second and goal. Burris has time. End zone, out of the reach of Nick Lewis, and Reggie Miles was in his hip pocket.
He was, and Nick Lewis was shaking and baking and jiving and back and forth and shaking his shoulder pads, trying to get Reggie Miles off him in the back of the end zone, and Miles stayed patient. He let him do all those moves, and all he did was stand right there and stay with them.
So with all of that, both teams can take a little positive out of that. A good response by Burris after the interception for a touchdown, and BC can feel good about forcing DeAngelis onto the field for a short field goal attempt from 15 out to regain the lead. And DeAngelis is good. 19-18 Calgary. Up for every sack in tonight's game, Purolator donates the quarterback's weight and food to a local food bank. Purolator, where business is going, and we got a new team in the league, Johnson and Wake.
Well, they're ahead of 4 teams. The two of them combining, and that Cameron Wake play down there wasn't a sack, but wow, that was something that not many players can accomplish.
Wake with 9, Johnson with 7, the Lions with 24, 3 tonight, and hats off to the folks in Edmonton, a record last night. Tackle Hunger Night at Commonwealth Stadium, netting 66,000 pounds of food for the local Edmonton food banks. Ian Smart at his 15. And piled up at the 32-yard line. So the leads change, and Jarius Jackson and company trailing by 1 here midway through the third quarter.
When Jarius Jackson used his legs a little bit, I think he had more success in that first half. And when they started the second half, they went to Stephen Logan out of the gate. But I won't be surprised at all to see them go back to the matchup with either Paris Jackson or Geroy Simon one-on-one on Brandon Browner.
Logan will sidestep, but Lapinjo wasn't fighting and tosses him down.
You remember Sarah in the first half talked about gap cancellation. We showed you the basics of gap cancellation. That's a great example right there from Mike Lapinjo, who takes away this gap under the backside. So when Logan comes in, see Lapinjo just plays down. He plays a C gap turns into the B gap. He takes it away, and he's got help from his friends. All those gaps canceled.
Former St. Mike star went on to Michigan State. He used to play hockey too. I can imagine that guys he used to play against were glad when he went to football. There's another sack, and there's Mike Lapinjo.
Well, and he goes inside on Rob Murphy, and I watched him from start to finish on this play. A nice inside power pass rush move as he just pushes the pocket back until the pocket collapses. Right here on the outside, and watch the one-on-one matchup on 56. Rob Murphy takes an outside step. Murphy gets up in his grill, and he still can fight through that. Hangs onto the jersey of Jarius Jackson and gets himself a sack. Back-to-back big plays from Mike Lapinjo.
Big guy's got some mobility at 280 pounds. And Paul McCallum has to boot it away. Marcus Howell at his 38. And Tad Crawford down quickly. Jamal Johnson comes over the top here in the third quarter. 1 point Calgary lead. Let's join Sarah Orleski.
Chris, tonight marks the debut of 24-year-old receiver Reggie Williams for the Calgary Stampeders, who's coming off their practice roster. Now, Reggie Williams grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, and said that even before he started playing football, he said that when he grew up, he wanted to be just like Jermaine Copeland, who at the time was starring at University at Tennessee. He also liked watching Kenyon Rambo over at Ohio State, so he said that it is surreal for him to be joining these guys in a huddle right now. It hasn't even hit him. Now, adding to his story, though, is the fact that after graduating high school, because of family obligations, he wasn't able to go to college. He's played one season of football, Arena 2, when he was 20 years old. I asked one of the coaches how improbable it is that he's here playing right now, and he said that with the receivers that this Calgary Stampeders team has, it was virtually impossible for him to make it, and that this is just a wonderful story.
Against all odds, but impressed in the free agent camp. Drove 7 hours to a free agent camp and got out of the car and ran sub 4.4. That got Calgary's attention. 2nd and 8. Burris has time, airing it out and looking for Kenyon Rambo. Or short, check that. That was Williams, just out of his reach.
And that showed a little bit of that speed that you mentioned, Chris, and conversation with Sarah before the game about Reggie Williams. She also mentioned that to me that when he came into that camp and ran the 4.39 40, the coaching staff for the Calgary Stampeders, because he had said to them, look, I'm a 4.3, and when you're a football player, everybody runs a 4.3. You say that to every coach. Hey, coach, 4.3, 4.4 easily.
Until the stopwatches come out.
Yeah, and then the stopwatches come out and it's a different story. He ran it, and the coaches went back and measured the distance to make sure.
Smart from the 16. And he's upended as he crossed the 25 with a late flag. And it's an illegal block against the Lions. Good cover downfield by Jawan Simpson of the Stamps.
And Jawan Armour is one of the reasons that Stephen Logan has been contained.
BC number 11, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Jason Pottinger draws the flag.
You saw Logan's numbers, 50, just over 50 yards. The BC Lions have started to go away from a little bit, not a lot of carries yet.
I wanted to ask you, Logan has surprised some teams that haven't seen him. He did play in the preseason against Calgary. Is that any advantage to the Stampeders defense?
Oh, I think so, absolutely. You get a chance to actually be on the field with a guy, you understand how he moves, how he lines up.
There's Jackson on the roll, looking downfield, and unable to hook up with Geroy Simon. Calvin Bannister was step for step.
You have to give Calvin Bannister a lot of credit here for covering one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the Canadian Football League. He takes away the inside and then has to make up that distance, but is patient, waits for the ball to arrive, and then makes his move on the ball. Because a lot of guys with Geroy Simon running one-on-one on you, you start to panic as that ball gets closer, and that's when that pass interference flag comes out.
He was beaten deep a few times early, but the Stamps defensive coaching staff said stick with it, keep playing aggressive. 2nd and 10. Rush on. Jackson jolted as he got rid of the football, and Mike Labinjo's turning it up in the second half.
He really is. That was just straight speed that time. We saw Mike Labinjo one time come inside of Rob Murphy. This time Labinjo on the outside over here. This time he's going to come up the field and just speed rush, and watch how quickly he gets there on Jarius Jackson. Rob Murphy tries to step out on him, and he is out little moving around, and look how quickly he gets around that corner to put the pressure on Jarius Jackson. So John Huffnagel's getting what he wanted. They're getting some harassment on the quarterback.
Charleston Hughes in the face of Jarius Jackson as well. And the 7th time in the last 8 Lions possessions, Paul McCallum has had to kick it away, and Kenyon Rambo from Marcus Howell, who was shaken up on the last return, and Rambo takes it into Lion territory at the BC 51. Live coverage of the Beijing 2008 Olympic Games continues into the final weekend tomorrow, 6 a.m. Eastern, 3 a.m. Pacific, and it's available on TSN HD.
Big comeback by Team Canada. Bunch of medals after our slow start.
Absolutely. Shocker yesterday, though, with Adam Van Couverden, and look who's warming up on the Lions sidelines as Jarius Jackson gets attention after a tough series in which he got beaten up and seems to have a hand injury. Henry Burris to work, starting at the Lion 52, over the middle and almost picked off. Jerome Dennis got a hand on it.
Let's go back and see how Jarius Jackson hurt that hand on his that's his throwing hand as well. Labinjo is right in front of your screen. He gets the pressure, but there was pressure up the middle too. I'm wondering if he hit a helmet on the throw here. Looked like he might have hit his own guy. He went right down and grabbed that middle finger, it looks like. Maybe he pulled it back out. It looked like it might have been dislocated. That's never fun either.
Fans revving up here, 2nd and 10. 4 receivers wide side. Quarterback draw. Burris goes the other way and scampers for the first down out at the 40-yard line. 13 for Henry Burris, who entered the game number 10 in CFL rushing.
You know, he is always the quarterback I'm talking about. That one guy that's really not accounted for in the running game. They'll check where Joffrey Reynolds is, the defensive line. The defensive line will check the receivers, and then they'll get ready for their pass rush move on a 2nd down, and often they don't account for the quarterback running.
28 yards tonight on 6 carries, his season best 93. And against the Alouettes, fresh set of downs with under 4 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Much short side, fake, and now it's dumped off, and Teo Johnson gonna romp and stomp inside the 20. And has he become a new factor in this Calgary offense?
Well, I love the formation and the play call from the Calgary Stampeders, as they're going to use some play action and peel out this way and have Teo Johnson go out in the flat. And what it does is it isolates Cameron Wake. If Cameron Wake comes up the field, he's beat. If he stays at the line of scrimmage, he's beat. There's too many options for Henry Burris there. Nice play call there by George Cortez, the offensive coordinator.
21 for Johnson on his 4th catch of the night. Sets up a Stampeder first down at the 18. Ralph in motion. A pump and into the end zone for Reggie Williams, incomplete. A couple of Lions in the neighborhood. Baron Simpson was there, and so was Ryan Phillips, who's still down.
And it looks like, yeah, also LeVar Glover.
We'll check that LeVar Glover
down in the corner there. And boy, you know, in a key play in the football game, Henry Burris had confidence to go to Reggie Williams in the corner of the end zone there, as Glover is taking his time regrouping. He was trying to get in front of Reggie Williams and knock that ball down, but that's showing confidence in the inexperienced Reggie Williams.
So this gives Burris the opportunity to check in with George Cortez, Dave Dickinson in the huddle. Remember, Dante Marsh already out, the strong side corner, and now the weak side corner goes down.
They do have Reggie Miles dressed, Jerome Dennis is dressed, and Tad Crawford tonight.
And while he gets attention, we will take a timeout. Just under 3 minutes remaining in the 3rd quarter. Closed captioning of the CFL on TSN is brought to you by Sport Check. When you're in the zone, time almost stands still. Getting into the zone begins with Sport Check. Sport Check, the power of sport. So both corners out of the game. Dante Marsh left first half, and now Glover for at least 3 plays.
Looks like Baron Miles is walking out to play the wide side corner. He'll play beside Ryan Phillips. He'll put Tad Crawford at safety.
Corey Banks has made a big play on the other corner tonight. for a Lion defensive touchdown. 2nd and 10. Here comes the rush. Burris looking for Lewis. Touchdown, Nick Lewis. A league-leading 7th touchdown for Lewis.
Well, I mentioned early in the game that Henry Burris loves to go to those slot backs in the scoring zone. Of his 97 touchdowns as a Calgary Stampeder, 46 of them have gone to either Jermaine Copeland or Nick Lewis, and he gets the one-on-one matchup as the BC Lions try and shuffle their secondary to take care of some injuries.
98th touchdown pass as a Calgary Stampeder for Henry Burris. And he liked the slots right from the start. His first was to a guy named Alan Pitts.
Not bad.
DeAngelis the extra point, and it's an 8-point Stampeder lead.
One-on-one for Nick Lewis on the half field here. There's Nick Lewis right there, and he's going to go and run that corner route on Reggie Miles. There's the corner route, little lean and back, and he has got that position to the outside, and he is so aggressive and ran that route so well. He beat Reggie Miles and shook our microphone.
So he talks the talk, but he also walks the walk.
Sure does.
7 touchdowns on the year, breaks the tie coming in with Kerry Watkins for most touchdown catches, and he's been hot of late. That's his 6th TD grab in the last 5 games.
Kerry Watkins right on his heels. Of course, Montreal in their bye week.
So the Stampeders have recovered from that Corey Banks interception for a touchdown early in this 3rd quarter, and the Lions offense has stalled here in the 2nd half, and we'll see if Buck Pierce A gets the call and B can kickstart it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Buck Pierce, because Jarius Jackson, I believe, I look across, I found him in that bench area, and I think he's got his ball cap on and an ice bag wrapped around his right hand.
Ian Smart, a seam, and DeAngelis a great tackle at the 46-yard line. That could have been some serious damage. And here comes Buck Pierce, the man who started game 1 against Calgary, only to be forced out of that game with a shoulder injury, and the fans give him a nice welcome.
And played 2 weeks ago in the 2nd half against the Edmonton Eskimos. Had 65 yards passing in that game. Jarius Jackson with the ball cap on and the ice on the right hand. Looks like that will be it for him tonight.
Buck was 9 for 14, 160 yards and a touchdown in that Calgary game. There's Logan, and look at that balance. What a terrific run by Stefan Logan down to the Calgary 47.
He hits that and uses the left hand to just keep his balance and not go down on initial contact. But this is the first time in a while that the Lions have tried to attack with Stefan Logan rather than try and go wide with Stefan Logan. He has great speed, but the Stampeders have run down those wide plays, and that time they hit him right up the middle.
17 on that romp, 76 in the game. Got a nice average carry of 9.5 yards so far. First down, Pierce steps up. And Buck Pierce will be brought down at the 45. Jawan Armour with the tackle. And Jawan Armour told us prior to the game that he'd prefer to face the other Lion running back, Joe Smith.
Myself personally, I prefer Joe Smith. You know, bigger back, easier target. You don't have to wrap up. You can really just hit him in the face. But Logan, more like a Charles Roberts type back, you really have to break down because he'll make you miss and he'll make you look bad. So, but the way we fly around, there's always going to be more than one guy on the tackle.
2nd and 8, and Buck Pierce on the money for G. Simon, and a first down here in the final minute of the 3rd quarter. 11 for Simon.
Interesting comment there from Jawan Armour. Leroy Simon picks up that first down. This is a good throw by Buck Pierce, too, because the timing of it is on. And Buck Pierce hasn't had a lot of playing time this year. He did play that second half a couple weeks ago, but timing was there. And I like what Juwan Armour said. You know, when you talk to linebackers, did you hear that little hint of nastiness when he goes, yeah, I want to play Joe Smith. I like him better because I want to hit him in the face.
It's been smash mode tonight.
Yeah.
Double tight ends. Here's Logan. And Logan falls forward for maybe 3 on what is the final play. And there are the 2 combatants, Armour and Logan. Final play, third quarter. Third quarter stats are brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Well, we got a football game, and it's a good one. And, you know, I think the big difference for the Calgary Stampeders, look over 300 net yards and over 200 passing, is Henry Burris has bounced back from that Corey Banks interception for a touchdown. And this is the new, mature Henry Burris who can handle adversity much better than he did when he was a young quarterback. Doesn't make as many mistakes as he used to, and when he does, like the last 2 weeks, early or key interceptions, but comes right back. Yeah, he really does, and that's been the difference, because you can never eliminate every mistake. Every football player, as long as you cross the stripe, you will make a mistake in a game. It's how you deal with that mistake, how you move forward, and that's the big difference, because Burris has come back, got his team back in the league, in the lead, and he has just handled that adversity very well. One glaring stat, 19 yards of offense for the Lions in the third quarter, and they're into the plus column because of this series with Buck Pierce. And Pierce guns to the sidelines on 2nd and 8. Incomplete. Looking for Clarence Coleman, a name we haven't called tonight. Well, the other thing that's been a bit of a difference maker for Calgary in this game after 3 quarters is some pressure up front, and that started with Mike Labinjo. So John Huffnagel's concerns during the bye were how they respond defensively and try and get pressure and harass quarterbacks. They've already knocked Jarius Jackson now out of the football game, so they got that accomplished, and Henry Burris handling adversity very well. So Paul McCallum in to attempt a 40-yarder. Trying to cut into this 8-point lead, and McCallum is good. 26-21. Well, we talked to John Huffnagel prior to the game about how you eliminate those big plays.
Oh, geez, you tell me. I'll be a lot happier. No, it's a problem. There's no question about it. We're trying to attend to it as much as possible. You know, in this little time off, the question has been asked quite often. And basically, we need to get more of a pass rush, but not even more than a pass rush. We got to bother the opposing quarterback. We got to force him to making mistakes.
And they're getting that. Yeah. Charleston Hughes in the first half, and Mike Labinjo has really amped it up here in the second half. I like the way John Huffnagel, the former quarterback, by the way, I like the way he said that at the end of that clip. We would like to bother the other quarterback if we can. Well, they bothered Jarius Jackson right to the sideline with an injured right hand. Mike Labinjo, big reason for that. He just turned it up in this second half in the third quarter. Boy, he's a fun guy to talk to. He loves the game. He has lobbied to be a running back on short yardage. He has lobbied to return punts. And he's not the lightest guy on the field either. No. Are you sure that's 284? It looks like 3 bills to me. Here's Reynolds on the return, upended by Jason Araki. You know, I actually asked him kind of politely. I said, we've seen different weights. I said 240, 250, 280. Are you 240? He said, no, I'm over 280. Yeah. And a little special teams work from Mike Labinjo as well, and that's another characteristic of Canadian football. The starters on defense often are playing on those special teams as well, and he will drop the weight. John Huffnagel gave him an opportunity to earn a spot and show what kind of player he really was in this training camp, and he stepped up. So a 5-point Calgary lead. Joffrey Reynolds straight ahead into the teeth of that tough Lions defense, and he has 4. And Reynolds approaching another 100-yard game at 98. Joffrey Reynolds, his first ever 100-yard game against BC in the opener. His only other 100-yard game this year was in his last start against Saskatchewan when he rolled up 128.
Be his 17th if he gets a couple more yards, which he will, I'm sure, in this game. Maybe not on this play as he goes to wide receiver.
So consistent last game, too. Longest run last game against Saskatchewan, 13 yards. And it dumped over the middle, and another catch by Nick Lewis. Baron Miles, the safety there. And it's a first down for Calgary into Lions territory.
Looks like for the BC Lions, LeVar Glover is back on the corner, and Baron Miles is back in the middle. He's the guy who's going to end up making the tackle on Nick Lewis. Just sits down right over the middle. No linebackers there, so it's Baron Miles, the safety, that steps up. Baron Miles had moved to the wide side corner for Glover, but he's been out 3 plays and is back.
Lions defense was trying to give Henry Burris a lot of different looks in the second quarter. Burris seems to be finding holes now. Joffrey Reynolds sure did. Over 100 yards with authority and down to the BC 29. 21 more for Joffrey Reynolds.
Joffrey Reynolds takes advantage of Cameron Wake aggressively stepping upfield. Now, Joffrey Reynolds just to the left of your screen. Look at the gap that's opened up. Right there, Cameron Wake stays too wide, and he opens up a lane right here that Joffrey Reynolds says, thank you very much. And that is the B gap, a wide open B gap.
And big touchdown run on the opening drive of the game. Reynolds checks out. And John Cornish, the new Westminster, BC native, into the game at tailback. Here's Burris looking over the middle, and that ball incomplete. There's the newcomer, Reggie Williams, unable to hang on.
I've been pretty impressed that Henry Burris in these key situations is looking to Reggie Williams. I mean, we talked about his speed and his story, and it's a great one, but he is one of those rookies that are still in awe. I mean, he's out there right now, his eyes like deer in the headlights. That's what happens for every rookie. He's looking up to his idols out there, and Jermaine Copeland and Nick Lewis, and he's trying to just find his way. And in these key situations, Henry Burris isn't hesitating to try to get him the ball. He hasn't had that big catch yet, but he's trying.
Sarah mentioned he played arena football when he was 20, now 25. Second and 10. Burris guns, and Lewis has it knocked out of his hands. That's a big defensive play. Reggie Miles with the strip.
Reggie Miles just hung in there, you know, and this guy has really started to make a name for himself this year. He's been the nickelback. You know, the secondary for the BC Lions have a lot of big names in that secondary, but Reggie Miles shut down Nick Lewis in the end zone earlier in this football game. Lewis has both hands on the ball, but Reggie Miles does not give up and punches it out. Couple of interceptions, sorry, Chris, from Miles this year.
55 games as a Cincinnati Bengal, and now with the Lions, Sandro DeAngelis trying to restore that 8-point lead that Calgary enjoyed. And DeAngelis nails that. 11:18 left, fourth quarter. The CFL on TSN, brought to you in part by Future Shop. From MP3 players to laptops, get everything you need this back to school at Future Shop. Well, this is the kind of game that gets you ready for Labor Day, doesn't it? Labor Day weekend. Next up, we'll start Friday with BC in Montreal. Of course, Monday, the traditional Labor Day fair at McMahon Stadium with the Eskimos. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan. Toronto and Hamilton. Their traditional Labor Day weekend games.
Get your tickets quickly.
If they're still left. Ian Smart out to the 35. We have a mic on Nick Lewis, and that's always entertaining.
Here we go. Good in, baby. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
Great thing about Dick is we can hear him without the mic.
Yeah, you don't have to amplify.
Sideline with us. See things over here. Great knowledge.
And we appreciate him taking care of that and getting it to the bench after that touchdown.
Buck Pierce, high delivery. It's brought down. Clarence Coleman a catch up at the 40-yard line. First catch of the night. Buck Pierce, first series, produced 32 yards of offense, and he starts with 6 on that first down.
Clarence Coleman was really a guy who stepped up in the absence of G-Roy Simon. You know, G-Roy Simon was averaging 5 catches a game. He missed those 2 games. So who picked up the 5 catches? It was Clarence Coleman. He was averaging 2 catches a game before Simon went out and 5 catches a game afterwards. Simon's back and his production drops a little bit.
So 2nd and 4. Buck over the middle, and that's caught. First down, up at the 50. Big catch by Rufus Skillern.
Yeah, and he needs that one. You know, Rufus Skillern has been a guy who stepped in since Corey Rogers was injured early in the football season, and he's really struggled. He's trying to find his way as well, just like Calgary's Reggie Williams is tonight as a newcomer. But a tough catch like that in the middle was a first down, so it's a big one. That's the kind of catch that can give you a lot of confidence.
He has 5 catches tonight, had only 4 coming in. Remember Corey Rogers, a couple of touchdowns against Calgary in the opener. And another terrific run by the joystick, Stephon Logan.
Yeah, that's the type of run. It gives you a first down. It moves the chains, but more than that, it can fire up your team. You know, this is the type of thing. This is why he's starting. You know, because of his ability and his ability to make people miss. We've talked about that, and he has all that sort of Charles Roberts type ability in the open field. But that second effort can rally an entire team.
Shannon James missed. Juwan Armour couldn't bring him down. Finally, Charleston Hughes, an 11-yard pickup, first down at the 50. And this time, Buck Pierce, bootleg. Pierce running to the stick and a first down.
See, Mike Labinjo is playing a great second half, but when Logan had the success on the last play, Stephon Logan, that makes Labinjo, who is right over here in your screen, watch how he comes down and has to be careful with Logan. He takes a look at Logan first, number 42. He's going to slide down, take a look at Logan, and then he's caught a little bit too tight. See, there's the run. He jumps down inside to the run, and that allows Buck Pierce outside him.
So Buck with an 11-yard run and another Lion first down on the move with less than 9 minutes to go. Here comes the pressure. Buck scrambling away and now unloading. Jason Clermont's first catch down the sidelines. Somehow Buck Pierce got it away, and Clermont turns it into another Lion first down.
I think it was Juwan Armour that was in chase and Buck Pierce, and he was closing quickly. And how Buck Pierce looked like he almost was diving. There's Armour there in front of the goalpost. Pierce is going to get flushed out of the pocket, and then he starts to run. Now Armour's secondary contained. Here he comes, and as he's falling away, Pierce just notices Clermont in the open and tosses him almost an underhander as he just kind of flips it to him.
21 for Jason Clermont. First grab of the night. Takes it to the Calgary 18. Pierce checks down to Logan. Boom! Still going inside the 5, and that has BC Place Stadium erupting.
That's special. That is the way he planted and took all the defenders. He was corralled. I mean, he was caught, hemmed in. Logan out to the right, to the left of your screen. Here comes the dump pass. Now watch this little shake right there. He freezes 3 defenders in the open field.
3 on one side, a couple on the other. And by the time we saw him come down, there were about 9 Stampeder defenders in the picture. First and goal from the 5. Third on motion. Big to Logan. Buck Pierce with Hughes in pursuit, and Hughes tracks him down at the 3.
No, Hughes hesitated for just a second, but not enough. Buck Pierce didn't sell that fake just long enough to hold Charleston Hughes there, and he was able to track him down from behind. He holds it. The fake is there, but it's only a quick hesitation by Hughes, not long enough to hold him in the hole so that Buck Pierce could get outside like he did against Michael Binjo a few plays earlier.
So 2nd and goal from the 3. For Claremont, touchdown! Pierce to Claremont. And it's a 2-point game. And Coach Suter's already signaled for the 2-point convert.
Well, Buck Pierce stays on the field now. He'll go and get a signal, and he gets Claremont, who comes in motion in the backfield from one side to the other. Claremont is just at the edge here of the screen, but he came from over at this side of the field all the way back to that side. And then now he's got Julian Battle in a bit of a chase on the inside position. He gets that quick out and just inside the goal line. Good timing from Buck Pierce, who will now get the offense back out there and go for 2 and tie this game.
First 2 catches of the game for Claremont on this drive, and he caps it with his 3rd touchdown of the year. 3-yard grab, and this to tie the game. As the Lions go for 2. Skiller into the wide side. Short drop, looking for Logan. 2, we're tied. "53 minutes and 45 seconds of good football, and we are locked at 29. Wendy's CFL on TSN Friday Night Football is brought to you in part by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. It's way delicious. It's Wendy's. And by Rona, the proud sponsor of the CFL. Rona, the Canadian how-to people. Kicked off, and here's Joffrey Reynolds finding a seam across midfield, and Reggie Miles drops him at the 53. So the game's tied, but Burris has great field position when we come back. Tonight's game story brought to you by MGD, nothing to hide.
Performances from both running backs. Joffrey Reynolds, 119 yards. Stephen Logan just shy of that. The Lions defense, 3 sacks. Buck Pierce takes over for Jarius Jackson and puts together a nice drive to tie this football game up, including a 2-point convert to that man, Stephen Logan.
So Burris in good field position to try and break this tie, starting at the 51. They swing it out, and Nick Lewis jolted immediately. Ryan Phillips was right on the scene.
Boy, a real different look from the BC Lions defense there as Ryan Phillips reads this play. Javi Glatt, the linebacker right here. Javi Glatt, look at him, drop way back from linebacker. He becomes the free safety, and then they're going to move Baron Miles up and run off the edge there. Ryan Phillips, who makes the play. So a completely different formation defensively, confuses Henry Burris a little.
Now 3 down linemen, 2nd and 14 back at midfield. The 3-man push, but Burris has time, and he's got Kenyon Rambo right at the first down stick.
The Lions elected to go with a 3-man rush and just did not get any pressure at all. That allowed Burris lots of time, and he had all kinds of room. There's Rambo on the outside. He's running his out route a little forward. Now he makes Corey Banks turn and respect that deep route. That was the difference, but watch the protection that Burris has. 3-man pressure, lots of time, lots of time, lots of time, throwing lane.
Needed 14 and got 15. Trying to win their first here in BC play since 2002. And Henry up the sidelines again, and a completion to Rambo. Kenyon Rambo with 2 clutch catches. with less than 5 minutes to play.
Well, he set Corey Banks up because the play before that, he ran the out route. So now Corey Banks is hesitating, waiting for that out cut on the outside to the right of your screen. And this time, what does he get? He gets the go route from Kenyon Rambo. So ever since Dante Marsh has gone out there, it's been Corey Banks on the corner. Dante Marsh will not return in this game, and Rambo's going after Banks right now.
Fourth 100-yard game of the year for Rambo, his second against the Lions. First and 10 at the 14. In motion. Reynolds straight ahead. And Cameron Wake came across to make the play at the 10.
Calgary Stampeders may be setting up a play to try and go one-on-one again to Kenyon Rambo on Corey Banks on the short side of the field. The reason I say that is because on that last play, they took Brett Ralph here, and they got him out of there. He was on the short side. There's Rambo on the outside. Now, he's one-on-one. Now, they run the ball on this play, but that could be just take a look and see how the BC Lions will play defensively, and if they get that matchup, may go right back to it.
Tad Crawford into the game. Javi Glad out. 2nd and 6. Low shotgun snap. Looks across for Rambo, and Corey Banks stayed with him. Flag down, however.
Oh, boy. I thought Corey Banks was in pretty good position, but did he make contact before the ball arrived?
That's the call.
That was the matchup they went to. And this time, there it is on the outside. You see Kenyon Rambo right there, and he's on Corey Banks, going to run a quick slant route inside. Now, does Banks make contact? That's okay. No pass interference there. Oh, I don't know about that.
Pass interference. BC number 24. Automatic first down.
I don't know about that.
Huge call.
Well, it's a big one because, you know, that's two competitors, and I don't think there was any, and you could see the reaction from Wally Buono because, you know, Corey Banks, he just saw a replay, Coach Buono on the Jumbotron here, but I tend to agree. It didn't look like there was very much contact there by Banks on the sideline.
Buono bites his lip, but now it's 1st and goal from the 5 instead of the field goal situation to the corner. Brett Ralph, touchdown, backs in to give Calgary the lead again. So one play after a contentious call, Henry Burris hooks up with Brett Ralph, his 2nd touchdown of the year. Well, the Stamps are back in front.
Yeah, take nothing away from this drive from Henry Burris. Yeah, they get the call at the end, but that's not why they're down here. They're down here because Burris orchestrated a nice drive using Kenyon Rambo early in the matchup on Corey Banks and then using him as a decoy on the touchdown pass to Brett Ralph.
6-play, 51-yard drive. DeAngelis adds the extra point, 36-29, 2:46 on the clock. Well, the native of Raymond, Alberta, Brett Ralph has given Calgary the lead again as we go down to the sidelines. Let's join Dwayne Ford.
Well, guys, you just saw a great boost in intensity from the Calgary Stampeders offense, and it was contagious. You could feel it from the defense here on the sidelines. Even though Juwan Armour is just in his 1st year with the Stamps, he's become the emotional leader of this group. As soon as that ball went in the end zone, right away he was telling his teammates, it's on us, recognizing it's on the defense to protect this lead the rest of the way.
And Dwayne, you know, it all started with a special teams play. Joffrey Reynolds with the kickoff return to midfield. And then Henry Burris went to work, capped by Ralph, and it's the defense now that has to protect a 7-point lead. Plenty of time for the Lions.
Lots of time for the Lions, and you would think, depending on how much time they get after this special teams play, that they're in 3-down football. So Juwan Armour's bang on. It is on the Calgary defense to preserve the win and hang on, and it's on the BC Lions offense and Buck Pierce to see if they can tie it up once more.
You know, we did play a 45-45 tie last year at McMahon between these two teams. Ian Smart up across the 30, but well contained. Grew to good, and Armour on the stop.
Now that touchdown for Brett Ralph, Kenyon Rambo was used a couple times on that play. There's Brett Ralph right in the front of your screen there. And see Kenyon Rambo go up the field. He creates that decoy position so that he gets Brett Ralph open on the outside. And Jerome Dennis can't get there in time.
Well, there's no doubt that the Lions have the ability to answer back. Buck Pierce has given BC a shot in the arm offensively since coming in for Jarius Jackson. So is this guy. Logan to the 40.
Well, hey, if you're a quarterback in professional football, what you want is time on the clock, the football in your hands, and a chance to come back and either tie or win the football game. That's what Buck Pierce has right now, and a chance to convince Wally Buono that if he has to make a decision on who's going to be the starting quarterback moving forward, that it could be Buck Pierce, but he has to put a drive together.
The Ralph touchdown has quieted the crowd, and Buck Pierce going to try and give them something to make noise about. 2nd and 2. Short drop, but a long pass. Paris Jackson stretches out, and he's got it. How about that call on 2nd and 2? And they're making noise now.
Oh, boy. That's called playing to win the game, playing to get back in it. I mean, you're not getting conservative if you're the BC Lions, as Paris Jackson inside move on Brandon Browner and then just takes off. Brandon Browner can't get set up in his bump and run position because of the motion by Paris Jackson, and nice throw up and over the outside shoulder, so Wes Lysak, the safety, can help Brandon Browner out.
Just the 2nd catch of the night for Paris Jackson. It goes for 34. And now a pass batted down as Shannon James was blitzing on the play, got a hand on the football.
Well, Shannon James knows one thing when he comes on that blitz. The automatic for an offense on a blitz like that is to try and get the ball in your hands quickly to the hot route. And so he times his jump well and just knocks it down just to the right of your screen. You will see number 23 show up in just a second. There he is.
Top defensive player on the Stamps last year, Shannon James, with the knockdown. 2nd and 10 from the 36. This one is through the hands of G. Roy Simon.
Little bit outside on G. Roy Simon, but a catch that he should have had. He did get both hands on it, but he ran that curl in, and that ball fluttered a little bit to the outside shoulder. Watch G. Roy Simon, a little outside move, and then the curl goes inside, and watch the ball outside.
Yep. So here we go, 3rd and 10, a minute 46 left. Lions going for it. The game on the line. Pierce looks downfield for Simon. Got it. Is he in? Yes! What a play.
Looks like some of the Calgary Stampeders would like their coach to take a look at this.
Well, it'll be automatically reviewed upstairs. We're under 3 minutes to go.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
There is a flag down, and it is against the Lions, so that will make that part of it academic.
Offside. BC number 81.
Oh, boy.
5-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
What a catch on the sideline by G. Roy Simon. But he was the guy outside.
He was pushed. So it would have been an interesting review, but doesn't matter now.
Yeah, and you're right. It has to be reviewed by the officials upstairs inside of 3 minutes.
3rd and 15. Mack at the 41. Here comes the pressure, batted down again. Wes Lysak, the safety blitz breaks it up, but it's a turnover on downs. The first turnover of the game by the Lions with 95 seconds to go.
And one of the very first time that Wes Lysak, right there, the safety number 31, comes up and goes on the blitz. So The Calgary Stampeders wait to the most important play of the football game to send the safety blitz. Wes Lysak is free down the middle. Again, times his jump perfectly. Let's go back to the play that Geroy Simon was just offside. Change motion to the inside. He's just offside there. And that's the difference.
So 95 seconds remaining. It's not over yet. Stamps want to get a first down to seal this. Reynolds dropped and a penalty flag will
see what
stop the clock.
See what this flag is, because it does stop the clock. It's against BC, or sorry, against Calgary. The Lions can decline it and get a second and long, because the time on the clock is their worst enemy now, obviously.
Holding Calgary number 57. Penalties decline. Second down.
They would rather decline that, not give Henry Burris obviously another down to kill more time.
That's Rob Lazio tangled up with Tyrone Williams one more time. Minute 29 left. And the Lions could get this football back. It won't be great field position, but could have about 45 seconds left. So what kind of play call does Henry Burris have up his sleeve on 2nd and 9?
I think you throw the ball. Throw the ball and you play to win.
Swings it out. Reynolds surrounded, and he'll be stopped at the 42. 63 seconds remaining. Tyrone Williams with the tackle. And so Burke Dales has to come on.
The beauty of the Canadian Football League, because just over a minute to play, and the BC Lions look like this game was over on their third down gamble, but will get the ball back with a chance for a few more plays. That's how quickly it can be turned over on a quick 2 and out. Burris does get a little conservative, just dumping the ball off there to Joffrey Reynolds to avoid a mistake.
You know, you could even argue at 3rd and 15, a minute 45 on the clock, that Wally Buono could have considered a punt, pinning Calgary deep and hoping for the 2 and out to get the ball at midfield.
Yeah, not 3rd and 10, but 3rd and 15. That's a consideration, because there is time. But
I'm not sure many coaches would have done it, but it was a consideration.
Yeah, and I don't think you would do it when you have Henry Burris as the quarterback of the opposition and that offense, because they have played well. Burris could have ended the game when you give him possession.
Dales to kick. Not deep, but it put a backspin on it. Smart's going to let it roll, and he'll get the no yards, and they'll get pretty good field position out of this. The ball goes out at the 44, and a no yards as well.
Wow, the way that ball bounced back, they will get the ball around midfield or just their side of midfield, and with 54 seconds.
20. No yards. Calgary, 5-yard penalty. First down.
Just a 23-yard punt. Add 5. And the Lions have the ball at their own 49 with 54 seconds remaining.
Lots of time. Burke Dale's trying to kick it away from Ian Smart. Took too much off it.
So Buck Pierce in relief. Still has time to get him back on even terms. Jackson stays in for blocking. Pierce swarm, throws it up for grabs, and it's picked off. And Wes Lysak has the interception, his first since 2005. And what a time to come up with it.
And Buck Pierce tried to win the game in one play, or tie the game, come back and do it in one play, and he forces it here. He gets flushed out of the pocket. He had time at 54 seconds to move the football down the field, but that pocket collapsed on him, and it's been the pressure. Again, Mike Labinjo was up in there. You saw Dwayne Carpenter from the linebacking spot, so he forces the mistake from the Lion quarterback, that pressure from the Calgary Stampeders. And that mistake by Labinjo, you see Labinjo up in there, forces a mistake from Buck Pierce, who throws the interception across his body into the middle to Wes Lysak.
Well, how about Lysak's safety blitz? He broke up the the third down play to Buck Pierce, and then next time on the field, the interception. And he mentioned before the game he was due.
baby. Right there, it's the gloves. They must be lucky. Yes, sir.
And the Calgary Stampeders have taken another step here, another major step in their maturity. Their first victory since 2002, ending a 7-game losing streak here at BC Place dating back to August 1st, 2002.
By the way, Wally Guano was the coach of that Calgary team.
So now time for the TSN Gladiator.
Honorable mention goes to Rob Lazio in that one-on-one battle in the first half with Tyrone Williams. But as this game became important in the second half and the plays became more and more important, that's when Mike Labinjo stepped up. Jarius Jackson ended up on the bench with a sore hand because of his pressure. He played on the special teams, made some blocks there, and was dynamite with a couple sacks tonight.
Henry Burris kills the clock, and the Calgary Stampeders have moved into a tie for second with their Alberta rivals. Friday Night Gladiator brought to you by Castro. More than just oil, it's liquid engineering, and Mike Labinjo receives a Movado Series 800 watch, and the Calgary Stampeders will lead BC Place Stadium for the first time in 6 years with a win. 36-29, and it was a terrific one. Time now for the TSN Turning Point.
Well, Buck Pierce got the ball back with a minute to play, just shy of a minute at 54 seconds to be exact. Still had time to make something happen. He got some pressure. That pressure forced a mistake. He threw it across his body into the middle, and Lysak makes his second big play, but that was a turning point. That ended it.
The TSN Turning Point brought to you by the 2008 GMC Sierra, professional grade. So the Calgary Stampeders have already won the season series against the BC Lions, and they now move within 2 points of first place in the CFL West as we get set for the Labor Day weekend. Once again, the final score here at BC Place Stadium, the Stampeders 36, the Lions 29. Hope you enjoyed it. So long from Vancouver. SportsCenter is next.